It's almost time for the end of season awards. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today's video is going to centre around the end of season awards after the nominees had been released today. We're going to be talking about the player of the season, the young player of the season, and the manager of the season in this video. A couple of them awards I think are pretty foregone conclusions, with all due respect to everybody else. But one topic that seems to be causing a bit of controversy is the young player of the season, which I think can be a very intriguing and very divisive topic to get into. We're going to get into the nominees. We're going to get into the predictions on how I think the awards will go this season. But without further ado, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you are new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, I encourage you all to get involved in the comment section. Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling down there. Show your thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions will make for great and interesting reading on who do you think takes home the awards for this Premier League season, the 24-25 season. Who's the player of the year, who's the young player of the year, and who is the manager of the year. I'm sure all of that good stuff will make for great and interesting reading down below, so please do get involved, use and abuse that comment section, people, and talk to me. And without further ado, we're going to get onto the conversation ourselves. We're talking end of season awards. First and foremost, let me just say, these end of season awards sometimes are basically a popularity contest, or on other occasions do not make any sense whatsoever. Last season, the player of the year was Phil Foden. Somewhat respectable, somewhat understandable to a degree, but at the same time, he was also, I believe, nominated for the Young Player of the Year award, which was won by Cole Palmer. How can you not win the Young Player of the Year award, but win the Player of the Year award? Makes no sense. What doesn't go on to make any sense beyond that point is the fact that Rodri won the Ballon d'Or. So what you're telling me is, in the same squad that Phil Foden was in, Phil Foden was better than Rodri in the Premier League, but Rodri was the Ballon d'Or winner overall. Again, doesn't make any sense. Some of them are just popularity contests. Some of them are just like mates votes, that kind of thing. Some of them don't make sense, but you know, I still think that they do cause a bit of a debate and a bit of intrigue, and you know, I do think they do spark a bit of a conversation into the somewhat legitimacy of how far can you really take these individual awards to mean in terms of defining a player and defining maybe a player's legacy. So that's why we're talking about it today, and I would probably say that this year, for two of the three awards that we're going to be talking about, I would say they are pretty much foregone conclusions, with all due respect to all the nominees that are involved. Of course, today, we now know the nominees that are going to be there for the Young Player of the Year award and the Player of the Year award. So it's going to be a very intriguing sort of conversation to have on those awards. But for me, the Player of the Year award and the Manager of the Year award are pretty much done and dusted as far as what I'm concerned. I don't think there's really much debate to be had. And that's even putting aside my biases. I can't obviously sit here and lie to you. I'm a Liverpool fan, obviously. If you're new to the channel, I am a Liverpool fan. But at the same time, I can't look beyond Mohamed Salah for Player of the Year award. I just can't. And I know that there are some other good contenders. There's Alexander Isak, Brian Mbeumo, there's Virgil van Dijk himself, Mo Salah's teammate. And one or two other names as well that are floating around in there. But for me, it's Mo Salah. Mo Salah, the most goal contributions in a season, still could be on the potential verge of breaking Henry and De Bruyne's goal scoring and assist record. Breaks record after record. Was unbelievable for Liverpool this season. Went on a mad goal contribution streak in the Premier League. Spearheaded Liverpool's title charge for a large portion of the campaign. He was just electric everywhere and anywhere that Liverpool needed him to be. And I find it difficult to raise an argument against why he should not be winning this. So for me, Mo Salah is going to win the Player of the Season. I think that is no doubt whatsoever in my mind in particular. Then you have the Manager of the Year award. Again, I think it's a bit more of a foregone conclusion. Arne Slot for me in his debut season in the Premier League, his debut season at Liverpool Football Club, coming into a side, taking over, not having a transfer window full of activity. In fact, the only activity that he managed to conjure up, or the club managed to conjure up for him during his first summer transfer window, was Federico Chiesa for £10 million. And even then, Arne Slot has barely played him in the Premier League. And he has simply walked in, looked at the squad, changed a few things, kept somewhat of the Klopp DNA for the most part and for most of the season, but sprinkled his own little bit of stardust and obviously tweaked a few things to suit his image of how he wants his side to set up and play, and has simply walked the league. The man has simply walked the league. The only contender I can think of to raise an argument would have been Nuno Espirito Santo if Nottingham Forest get Champions League football. I know it's now a big ask for Forest to do that. They are, of course, on the back foot a little bit there after obviously maintaining a top 5 position for so much of this season. But for me, if Nuno Espirito Santo and Forest don't get Champions League football, then it is more of a foregone conclusion than it would be if they did. And if they still do, I still think Slot probably deserves it a little bit more over Nuno, but I think the conversation is a lot closer. And that's no disrespect to Forest. They've had an absolutely unbelievable season. No one was expecting them to get any form of European football whatsoever. But the way that they've sort of fell off a little bit may just hinder them when it comes to obviously deciding who wins it, which is, again, no real fault of their own. It's just the way that sometimes people have recency bias and things of that nature. But for me, yeah, Slot wins it, hands down. But full credit to Nuno Espirito Santo and for Forest for what has been a fantastic season. And again, I wouldn't blame it if they did, or if he did get Manager of the Year of this accolade. But for me, it has to be the one who's just debuted in his opening season and has absolutely walked the league with no transfer window, basically no incomings. It's still kind of Jurgen Klopp's squad, so to speak, that he's built. But obviously, Slot has managed to manage this team very, very well. He's managed to tweak a few things and not change too much from the Jurgen Klopp DNA of his predecessor. And then we come on to the Young Player of the Year award. Now, this one throws up a little bit more controversy and much more of an intriguing sort of topic at hand. Like I mentioned before, Cole Palmer won it last year, ahead of Phil Foden, and he is once again nominated this year. And he'll be nominated alongside Liam Delap of Ipswich with his 15 goal contributions, Gravenberch of Liverpool for obviously his changing of position and somehow miraculously becoming one of the best defensive midfielders of the Premier League this season. A move that no one really saw coming, a positional change that no one really thought would work properly, but somehow miraculously has. Anthony Elanga, spearheading and part of the incredible Nottingham Forest side this season. Dean Huijsen of Bournemouth, of course, in what has been an incredible breakout season for the young defender, making a move from Juventus to Bournemouth in the summer of last year, and he's going to be going on to pastures new with Real Madrid this summer. João Pedro of Brighton with 16 goals and assists in the Premier League. Morgan Rogers of Aston Villa, 18 goal and assists this season for the Villa, and still obviously could get Champions League football to show for it at the end of the campaign, should, of course, they win their remaining 2 games and, of course, Chelsea slip up. And finally, the one that, in my opinion, should be raising the most amount of controversy, William Saliba. Now, it's not out of the realms of possibility, out of the realms of the norm, shall we say, that a 24-year-old gets nominated in these awards. It always seems to be that every year there does seem to be a 24-year-old that does get mentioned in the Young Player of the Year category. And that makes me think maybe they should change it. Maybe they should have a separate sort of award for a breakout star, like a debut season kind of thing. Because, like I say, if they did that, Huijsen would get it. Or maybe Liam Delap would get it. Because they've had a breakout season, no one knew much about them before this season. They've come into the Premier League, they've hit the ground running, they've done extremely well. Liam Delap was the main reason why Ipswich had a fighting chance of staying up. Obviously, didn't really work out for them, but again, 15 goals in his first season, first real season at a senior level, playing week in, week out, is a very respectable and brilliant total for a relegation side. So fair play to him, and obviously Huijsen coming in, debut season playing for Bournemouth, an absolutely incredible campaign for him as well. So it's not around the norm for that to happen, but I do think that maybe they need to change it a little bit. Maybe they need to reduce the age bracket a little bit. I know he's just turned 24. I think he turned 24 in March. So starting the season at 23, then going to 24, he kind of does fall into that bracket. But I do think it needs to be looked at a little bit more in future. But even then, I don't think Saliba's had that amazing of a season to be nominated for this award, especially when you consider that there are other names that you could potentially have thrown onto this list. And João Pedro, by the way, is another one that I think is a bit controversial, shall we say. And I say that because there are at least 3 names that come to my mind, at least, of young players below the age of 24 that could have actually made this list. The first one, Lucas Bergvall. Now, I know a lot of people may laugh at that because Tottenham have been absolutely horrendous this season, and yes, they have. But Lucas Bergvall, in my opinion, has been a bright light in an otherwise dark season for Spurs. I think he's actually stuck to the Premier League really well. I think he's shown some really good moments. I think him and Kulusevski have probably been Spurs' best players this season. And I just think that there is something with him. I think there is something to this guy that screams to me that if he wants to be successful, he needs to leave Spurs, and he needs to leave ASAP, because he does look like he is a bright player with a lot of potential for the future, and for whatever reason he's deciding to waste it at Tottenham. But yeah, there you have it. I think Lucas Bergvall has been a very, very good addition to that Spurs side, and it's been a very good breakout season for him. The next one on the list, in my opinion, would be Carlos Baleba. I want to say it's Baleba, but it could also be Baleba. I still butcher names. I do apologise. I think he's been excellent at Brighton. I think if you were looking for somewhat of a Brighton representative on this list, you probably would have gone with him over João Pedro, in all honesty. I think he's been brilliant this season, and again, it's easy to see why a lot of big clubs are rumoured to be watching him very closely going into the transfer window. And then the next one on the list is probably the biggest one to be missing from this list, and I can't believe that he's actually missing on this list, especially when you consider that he's actually a teammate of William Saliba. And that is Myles Lewis-Skelly. Where's he? Where is he on this list? I'm baffled. I really am baffled by this. He's had an incredible season. He's probably been one of Arsenal's best and consistent players this campaign. Maybe slightly behind Declan Rice, of course. But to say that he's playing in what I'm gathering is a bit of an unnatural position for him, considering he developed more as a midfielder than he did as a left back. He's taken to it like a duck to water. And I, for one, do not understand why he is not on this list. I, for one, do not understand why he's not made the cut, especially when you consider João Pedro has and William Saliba has. Again, it makes me think, it makes me just sort of discredit these kind of individual awards more and more so when I see things like this. When I see players miss out on nominations for awards, because someone has a bigger brand or a bigger reputation or whatever the case may be. I personally don't get it. Is this the media thing that we've been discussing for most of this season in terms of, the likes of Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville maybe? driving this agenda that Lewis-Skelly needs to be humble, Lewis-Skelly needs to calm down, he's rash, he's already picked up 2 red cards, therefore he's a bit of a thug, or whatever they were kind of insinuating with that, even though one of the red cards, of course, was rescinded, but of course that doesn't exactly fit their agenda, and it's not just them, it's other areas of the mainstream media as well. So I'm a bit confused as to why Myles Lewis-Skelly wasn't exactly nominated, in all honesty, with this award, but we move, and personally for me, I don't know. This one is quite open this year. I wouldn't give it to Palmer. Palmer's been missing for the past few months, so I wouldn't give it to him. Delap could be a possibility. Gravenberch for the positional change. Don't necessarily think Alanga's going to get it. Huijsen could be a good shout, and plus he's a defender, so it would be something different. Shouldn't be given to João Pedro. Shouldn't be given to Saliba. And Morgan Rogers is a very good shout. So for me, it's between Rogers, Huijsen, and Delap and Gravenberch. I think they're going to give it to Morgan Rogers. I just have a sneaky feeling that with 18 goal contributions in the Premier League this season, I think Rogers just about takes it. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's any of the other 3 that I mentioned. I'd be very, very surprised if it's anybody else. Palmer should definitely not win it back-to-back, because he has not been as effective this season as what the others have. And for me, I would probably just give the edge to Morgan Rogers in this accolade debate. And there you have it. Those are your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the Player of the Year awards, or the end of season awards, should I say, for Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, and Manager of the Year? Let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling, and your predictions down below in the comments section. I'm sure it'll make for great and interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video. And I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your night. Speak to you again very, very soon.